us Tamara Crooms, who is a nurse and she's single. And we have a special guest with us, Bishop Jones.
Don't
He's
make me no bad. Don't make me no bad. Let me behave myself. I'm back.
As you guys see, we're going to have some fun today. So we have our special guest,
Yes.
Bishop Jones, and he's with us. He's our first single male with us, hanging out. And we have Ambrea Peters, who is a marriage coach, and she's here
Woohoo!
along with myself, Lisa Keaton, who is an author
Yes,
and a
yes.
founder of Playing by Him. So today we have a very interesting topic, and the topic today is trust, uh, commitment, a hard commitment. And we want to talk a little bit about the story about Mary and Joseph. And I just want to ask you guys, have you ever agreed to something that you really didn't have a good understanding of the depth of what you were getting into or what you were agreeing to? Or have you ever made a commitment or a vow that you didn't quite understand? And this is where Mary is with when she's pregnant with Jesus and the angel comes to visit her. And she's told that she's going to conceive a child. Now, first, initially, Mary did have a question, like, because she had never been with a man. So she was like, well, how is this going to happen? So somebody had had a conversation with her. So she knew what would cause her to have a baby. But the angel explained it to her. And then he tried to comfort her a little bit by telling her cousin Elizabeth was pregnant. But Elizabeth had been previously barren. So Mary left to go visit Elizabeth, and she stayed for 3 months, and then she returned home. And when she returned home, she had to tell Joseph that she was pregnant. Now, Joseph was blindsided because he's thinking, it ain't my baby. You've been gone for 3 months. Now you're going to come back and tell me
Right. So
you're
many
pregnant,
questions.
right? He knew it wasn't his. Okay. And so,
Oh,
as a man, we're gonna put our bishop on the spot.
why go first? Oh, yeah.
You were in a relationship with a woman that you knew that you had not actually physically touched,
Mhm.
and she came back. Would your response be the same as Joseph? And you're gonna try to do something privately in the back and just kind of like let the relationship go, or even if God came and talked to you about it, would you be obedient to His will?
So, the question is, if I was in the shoes of Joseph, what would
Yes,
I do?
yes.
Um, I think, honestly speaking, I would have a whole lot of questions. He probably couldn't answer them, but I do have a whole lot of questions. And I think, looking at the reality of the situation, being that you come out pregnant a whole certain way that nobody's ever heard of before. Um, I don't know. I would probably be like Joseph. This has been nice. We appreciate all that you've done. We gonna let you go. Oh, um, we gonna we gonna give you a parting gift. You know what I'm saying? Uh, with and that. Uh, so yeah, I would probably be like Joseph, and I think in all actuality, I think even hearing from God, I guess part two of the question, after hearing from God, I would probably have. I probably still need a minute to digest all of what you just said. I totally admire Joseph in so many ways. Um, in his relationship with God and his honor towards Mary that speaks to his character outside of the whole situation. So to answer your question, so I don't be here long. Uh, Number one, I would probably do what he did. Number two, I would probably still need a little time to digest what God just said. I would love to say God said it and I'll be all right, but I'm still gonna have a little, you get it's a whole lot of questions in there. But that I'm gonna leave that there for right It's a whole lot of questions. Like a lot.
While he was explaining that, I was thinking about what I would try to do to convince him that I was telling the truth.
Jesus. And I don't think you could do that.
No, right. And I feel like I'm pretty convincing, you know what I'm saying? it's that saleswoman in me. But I think with that, it's just I'm like imagining my husband's face, like while I'm trying to explain that, he's going like, right. Really. You know, it's just
say the
what
Holy
do you do?
Ghost. A ghost came on you. It's a ghost. Tell him to come on me so I know he came on you. Anyway, yeah.
So we're gonna turn the question around a little bit too, and we're gonna put it on the women. So how would you feel, or how would you treat your spouse or your significant other if they came to you, or another woman came to you and say, "Hey, you know what? I'm pregnant by your significant other, or I'm pregnant by your husband."
I'm sorry.
Would you actually believe your husband, or would you doubt the woman, or how would that look?
So I'm gonna give you my 40s mind response. So I think Tamara should go first.
Okay, so y'all want to twin his mind?
Wait, no. Be completely real about it. Like how do you think you will respond in your mind, the mind you have right now?
Part to give to.
Okay, so actually, while I was at work yesterday night, this topic came up randomly, and I was talking to a coworker, and she's been married, and I asked her about infidelity, like just random, because we were just talking about marriage relationships and how it is now versus how it was then, and she was telling me. Like the more that she was telling me things, the more that I understood, but with my mind, then in my 20s, I was just like, it's no for me. She was saying that she was saying that she will still stay and try to work it out because she knows her husband. Like she knows that this is a good man and she knows his character. You know, even though this has happened or everything. And the more that I was listening to her, I'm like, okay, that's making sense and everything. And she was like, so would you do it? And I told her no. I told her I said no. I said no. One, no. I'm saying no now because I haven't been in a marriage. I haven't been in a relationship. I don't have that. At least I haven't experienced that level of commitment, yet. But will it still be a no? Probably. It's just I think that's something that only the Lord can, get you through that one. I don't.
God.
There is nothing else that there's just nothing that can help, outside of Him when it comes to rekindling that.
Jesus.
Another baby. Okay, this is a whole human we talking about. You know what I'm saying?
She said a whole human.
Just getting the
this is your daily reminder.
Yes. Yes.
Anyway, I'm back.
That's exactly what basically a daily devotion of what was birthed. And then we have to learn how to work through it and learn how to live with it.
Yeah.
If I say yes.
Yeah. So 40's mine.
This is good.
And when I looked at the question, I guess I'm visual and I'm kind of multifaceted when it comes to that. So when I was reading the question, I was thinking about somebody knocking on my door and saying, "Hey, your husband's my baby daddy." And what my initial response to that would be, and I would have 100 questions to try to establish if there's some truth to it, like because I know him. And my questions will be very detailed because I want to understand if this is true for real. And then once I make that determination, I've already invited her in to sit down because I need to get all the questions answered. Then if I determine from her answers if she's telling the truth, in my mind while she's still talking, I'm going to be devising an exit plan. Because I'm thinking about we already raised grown children, and so we're about to start over with a small child, and we're about to do PTA and school drop-offs, diapers, fevers. I'm not doing that. So I'm going to listen to her. I'm going to devise my exit plan. Then I'm going to have a conversation with him to help him with what his transition is going to look like. If he says he didn't do it, I'm bringing them together so that they can talk about it and we can get down to the truth together. But I already know how I'm moving on that.
What I will say is, in the midst of my humor and laughter, but I will say, I think it takes, I think it's something that Tamara said, and, uh, and Ambrea said. I think number one, it's about developing the relationship between the husband and the wife. I think weaknesses test the strength of the relationship. It really tests how strong the union really is. And so I really think that as you develop this relationship with whoever you're developing it with, I think some of that, we're answering certain questions, and of course they're hypothetical. But then there are other people, like Tamara was saying, who are really, I'm here, I'm in it, I'm with it, I'm here for the long haul, and X, Y, Z. And I don't think that they're crazy. I don't think that anything, if anything, I really think it goes back to something that we talked about today. It's about your inner convictions towards the relationship. The Bible says, that adultery is a way out of the marriage. It's one of the legal ways out. But it didn't say you had to do it.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? It gives the option, but you don't have to. So I think it's important that everybody has to work out their inner conviction, because you got to stand by whatever decision is made at the end of the day.
And I
Yeah.
think, to be honest, I think I would like opt out of the marriage, to be honest, because I could just see that just being in my heart and me brewing and holding that, and anything that would happen, possibly bringing it up, throwing it in their face. Because my whole thing is, if
Excuse
you're
me.
going to stay there and you're going to be in a relationship, then that means you forgive that person and you let that stuff go and you don't bring it up anymore.
Hmm.
And that could be a hard thing, especially if you're looking at the child every day.
Yeah,
That could
still a
be very
reminder.
hard.
Yeah.
I think the part that I'm thinking about is the long run of how the marriage is going to be. It's because it's not going to be the same. Like nothing will ever. It's not going to be the same after that just happened. So it's like there's going to be, even when the things that say two people did before in the marriage, it may not be the same because of the insecurity that now lies behind of, well, what if, or maybe this will happen again, or and I just feel like then it'll be a lot of questioning of the marriage. And then that's why a lot of people, I believe, sometimes are getting divorced after 40 years or after, being together for so long. I think they were just, when if something did happen and they chose to forgive, but maybe they didn't choose to work it out the way that it should have been, and then they just were like, whatever, we're just gonna stay, and then they get divorced after so long.
We're getting some background noise, so I was trying to figure out where it was coming from. But
Something. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
one of the interesting things is, I think from everybody, the response, nobody said that they would actually trust the person.
Hmm.
That you would truly believe that what they're saying, because if the man came to you and said, hey, you know what, this is not mine, nobody said, you know what, I would just trust my spouse and say, okay, you know what, I'm going to believe you
Hmm.
until that thing happened or whatever. Or even, even the man, you didn't say, I'm going to trust her because this is what truly happened.
Hmm.
And so I think a lot of times, even in your commitment, we got to initially, trust that person and say, maybe they are telling us the truth. They might be, they might not be, but we still need to.
I think one of the things I'm learning, even not being married, talking to people who are married and talking to anybody who's committed to anything. I think one of the challenging situations is developing trust in God before you develop trust in that person. And I think that's very, very, very important, because nobody, in all actuality, can't nobody give you a guarantee on anything. At
Right.
the end of the day, the truth of the matter is, nobody can give you a guarantee. I hope I won't. I pray I won't. I'm gonna try everything in me that I want, but there's no guarantee that something, it may not even be infidelity, it could be anything, that it won't happen. So I have to have a backup plan when this seems to be falling apart. And I have to develop trust in God before I develop trust in that person. And I think sometimes we do it backwards. I think we try to trust people before, and then once things go bad, then we try to build this thing with God instead of building something with God first, and then taking that trust I have with God to deal with people. And
I
that's a challenge.
I just my daughter was just asking me recently. This was just like just the other day. She was just like, "How do people survive? When difficulties and things come up?" And I was like, "It's you have to trust God in order to be able to trust people."
Yes.
And so a relationship is blind faith.
It
You
is.
just don't know.
It is.
And
It
so
is.
you have to have that relationship with Him so that when it does go bad, you can. Something else I told her was that um, everything, even when it's bad, ends up working for good when you love Him.
True.
And so
True.
it's like, even having gone through some of the hard, like in marriage, I have dealt with some of the hardest things that you'd ever deal with in life. And
Yeah.
I think that having that, I lost my train of thought. Hold on, y'all. I had like 2 points, and I was so
Bring it back, Holy Ghost. Bring it back.
yes. Okay. So having that, it doesn't really matter. It's like something crazy could come up. It could be a baby, but I know that I'm going to be better in that. Even if I just even if God says stay in that, the baby's supposed to be here. I know it's making me better somehow. Um, who I am now, I wasn't 10 years ago, and it's because of the difficulties and the challenges and the things that I've had to work through. So at this point in my life and what I've been through, I would handle things differently than I would have in my 30s. In my 30s, I'd have been like, okay, God, maybe this is you. I'm just going to work through this and see how it goes. I'm in a different place now, but I know that everything, no matter how hard it was, it made me a better wife, a better mother, a better friend, a better Christian. Like everything worked together to make me better, even when it seemed completely ridiculous or something that I should have tried to get out of.
I guess
Go ahead.
we're supposed to be transparent, right? Okay.
Yes.
So I'm just disclaimer. So I'll say this. I've never been married, but I've had relationships, and I've been in a relationship where I've been cheated on, and then I've been in a relationship where I failed and actually cheated. So I've been on both ends of the thing. And I think initially, the one of my relationships where it first started, I was cheated on before I that whatever. But I will say one of the things that caused me to try to stay and work it out was what I believe God was saying to me to do, or what He was challenging me on. And I will say, when the offense happened, after getting over the initial shock of whatever, I had to deal with some things personally. I couldn't just focus on the action of what they did, right? But then I also noticed that when I got in other relationships after that, there was my own protection plan I tried to have. Okay, but my protection plan ended up making me do what was done to me, trying to protect myself to make sure that this doesn't happen. So now the question, that I constantly ask myself, and different things like that, since I know that potential is there. You see what I'm saying? The potential is there. Now, everybody has the capacity, but not all people have acted on the capacity. Everybody got the capacity to cheat. 25, 35, 45. Everybody got the capacity to do it, but not everybody acts on it. And then to discover not everybody I don't know if I'm supposed to be talking. I'm not supposed to be talking about it. Not everybody cheat for the same reason that you think they cheat.
True.
So now you're asking yourself if you're going to stay to deal with it. Partially, you have to deal with yourself, and then the other part, you have to come out of yourself to be able to see where they're coming from in order to deal with that person.
That's true. So
You know what I'm saying?
If you're a repeat offender, then it's time to go.
And that depends on, but see, that depends on the person and their conviction.
Yeah,
You know, because in our mind, and I get it, because in our mind, yes, okay, you're a fool, you need to, da 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 da. But then the other part is you don't know what they will become after this person. I don't know if everybody, and I said it this morning, I don't know if everybody's called everybody's journey. I think we hop into people's lives without considering the journey that they may take us on, because when we talk to people, we don't necessarily talk to people to say, are you entering this to go on this journey with this person? Or are you entering this so that this person can become a part of your fantasy of what you think this marriage is supposed to be? You know what I'm saying? Because then when the reality starts popping up, that's a whole nother conversation to have, because now you're devastated. I never thought you would ever do this kind of stuff. Well, I mean, who told you that they'll never ever thought that they would do, I don't, where did you get that from? Well, I just thought in my head.
So are you basically summarizing that we should in anything that we shouldn't go in anything with expectation?
Keep them low.
She say keep them low. I agree. I think we should set realistic expectations. I think most of our expectations are not realistic. Most people get into marriage and they don't expect to be hurt. They don't expect to be offended. I never thought you were hurt. How? How did you think living with two people you weren't gonna get some kind of boom? I don't. How? I mean, you live with yourself and you're confused. So I don't understand. How did you think if you didn't bring somebody else into your life, it's going to be a little something? Yeah. And I don't think we prepare people for the little something. Or the some things that will happen.
But that's in every relationship that you have, because you've been disappointed or hurt by your parents. You've been disappointed or hurt by your siblings. You've been, everybody that friends, you hurt. I mean, that's just a part of life that we go through. We get a lot of feedback. That's a part of life that we go through.
Yeah.
But with marriage, there tends to be this romantic delusion.
Yeah.
It's different. It's very different. We think this is gonna be cute, and it needs to feel good, and it's got to look good, and we're delusional when it comes to what the marriage relationship really looks like.
Don't make me speak in other tongues on here. But I think this is true talk, and when you're talking to people like that, they feel like you make it very depressing. But when Jesus put the qualifications of marriage, Peter then was like, I think we all need to be single. And Peter was married when Jesus was saying this. He was like, hey, hold on. We might want to rethink this whole little situation that you talked about going on. And I don't think, to the point that Sister Ambrea made, I don't think we talk about marriage from a realistic point of view. We talk about it from the standpoint of what we think it should be, and not what the actual thing really is. And so when things come up to test the marriage, and the trust, because to go back to what we said, I think trust is something that has to be developed over time. And I think it grows in degrees. I don't think you just like that's just trust. The truth is, I might trust you to pay these bills, but I might not trust you over here, like to even wash these dishes. You know what I'm saying? I'm thinking about how you wash the dishes. You know what I'm saying? But I don't call you about the bills, but I'm calling you about the dishes, because in certain areas, I trust you. In certain areas, you know, the last time you told me you was gonna wash these dishes, these bad boys still sitting in here. And you know, let me call and find out. Did you wash some dishes yet? You know, now I'm trying to develop trust about dishes. You know?
See, my mind thinks in movies, right?
Yeah.
And I think we think marriage is gonna be like brown sugar, but it really might be like waiting to exhale.
No.
And we
Yeah,
kind of gotta think about it like that. We very delusional. Yeah.
Burning up cars.
all of the relationships.
All of them.
Right.
So I want to make a little switch here
Okay.
about
We clown.
because in today's society we don't necessarily value marriage. I guess like in the past, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So you have all these people, or creating families without actually the paperwork in place or the commitment in place.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
maybe in terms of trying to get a commitment from somebody, you doing, having kids or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so how do you bring people back into alignment? And one of the things, I was watching one of the paternity court the other day. It was just crazy off the chain, where you got people coming in there, testing, 3, 4, 5 men to say, trying to figure out who the daddy is.
Yeah.
Or you got men coming in. Now, you done slept with the woman, but then you want to call her all kinds of names, and you find out,
That's that Kurt Franklin stuff. I'm sorry. You should see the movie. That was great.
You find out, if you've been there, it's a possibility that it could be yours. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But so how do we try to bring people back into alignment with the word? Because
there's no hope. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
They say no hope out here. Open
At least in my age range, I don't know what's going on there.
But it's not just your age range. Okay, so I'm gonna put my personal stuff out there. I was a mother before I got married, right? And I actually ended up going to court for my daughter because the daddy said, you know what, it ain't mine.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I didn't get on national TV, but we got broadcasting the now, but thank God she's grown. And I did call and get her permission to be able to say this. But in my mind, I was like, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to fight with you because I know 100% sure that you the daddy. I said, so we'll just go to court and prove it.
Yeah.
And to me, it was a done deal. It was open. And I was just like, if you don't want to acknowledge her in this way, because I felt that I was doing pretty good in my career and I could actually raise my daughter on my own without his assistance. But when he made that comment, I was hot. And I was just like, I'm going to prove this is yours and you're going to take care of her.
Yeah, yeah.
And so
I would say beyond marriage, I would say we live in the world where we don't value commitment, period. And I'm probably gonna get in trouble when I say this, but I'll say it anyway. Especially Christians who are so spiritual, because we blame God on how to get out of anything. I mean, God could tell you stay and kill tomorrow, and you wake up tomorrow, He said go over to the left. And and then you wake up 2 weeks and He said go to the right. And then we back to the left and we back to the right. And some of this, God is not doing all this movement, is because we fear a level of commitment to stay in things. And it's easy to become very spiritual to avoid growth. Because anything you committed to, you grow it. And this is why we have no growth, because we're committed to nothing. You see what I'm saying? You're committed to nothing. You're not committed to a job. You're not committed to your family. You're not committed to anything. You ain't halfway committed to yourself. So, there is no growth. And I say that to say this, that, sometimes I talk to young people and, they ask me, is shacking a sin? I don't deal with that. What I ask them is, my question is always, why you want to play like you're married anyway? I just want to ask.
Right.
If you don't play with it, why you won't do it? And you know what they say to me? I say, because if you get an apartment together, you're going to put the names together. Get certain, so you're going to be tied up anyway. So what you do? And you know what they say? It is something about that paper. It's a commitment. It's the commitment issue. The brain says I could opt out of this anytime I get ready. But that's the mentality that we have towards our life, that if it gets hard, I can opt out. So marriage is, when you start talking about for better or for worse, for rich or for poor, listen, they don't let you, they want to write their own vow. I'll be with you as long as you do such and such. There ain't no rich or no poor in this. Ain't no, this is, I will be with you as long as you help me, as long as you this. You know, this is what you're getting. You're not getting this commitment and this thing about making vows, which in the Bible days, it was big about making vows. They told you don't make a vow and don't break it. The Bible says you swear to your own hurt. We, that language is so far from us, and because it's so far, this is another reason why marriage is not esteemed in that regard. That's one of the reasons. I'll say one of the reasons. It's one of the reasons it's not esteemed in that regard. So you have to teach people how to be committed. And commitment means self-sacrifice to some degree. You know, if you're going to stay with somebody, you're going to sacrifice something to be with. That's just, you know, y'all are married. So, you know, there's been some sacrifice you had to make to stay to make the marriage work, and vice versa on the other end. But when everybody's trying to get all they want out of the marriage for themselves, this is one of the reasons why, you know, we don't, you know, that's not held in high esteem. That's in my opinion from outside.
People also think that there's no reward in commitment.
Yeah.
Like I'm just committing to die. And there's no reward. And not die a physical death, but I'm committing to die to myself, but there is no reward.
Yeah.
This marriage thing is ordained, and you are going to have a lot of hard times, but as you stay committed and work through those hard times, you live in the reward at some point. Yes. I remember Bishop Jones used to say a long time ago that you have to have about 10 years to really get into a groove. Mm-hmm. And in that 10 years, it's not cute. Like those first 5 years are bad. Like it's rough. And you know, you gotta work through those 5 years, and then you work through the other 5, and then you kind of get in a groove. Now, don't get me wrong, things can still go bad after that point, but you have to realize you're working towards something.
Yes.
And oneness is actually really, really good.
Yeah.
The commitment, God will reward you for your commitment, but you got to stay in it to get the reward, and it's worth it.
Yes. Yes.
It can be.
Yes. I think they call that what, the 7-year itch? 7-year itch. You have to make it past 7 years. The 7-year itch.
But we don't. But we're in a race against time too. So that's a whole nother reason why, you know, marriage in these situations, we're racing against time. So people don't have time to find themselves because I got to hurry up and get married. I got to hurry up and live this life. So I ain't got time to invest like that. I ain't got time to do stuff like that. And I think that's another thing that we're you know, by 30 I need to be this power person. By 40 I need to be this so and so. You know, and so that's another reason why marriage is not very high on our list today. You know what I'm saying? Because I got careers, I got dreams. What that movie said, I got goals to meet. You know what I'm saying? And you ain't one of them. You know
if you're not gonna push me into that goal.
Listen. Right. You know, we ain't got that to talk about. You know what I'm saying? And that's real, you know, and different things like that. And then I think sometimes our culture doesn't really set us up for marriage too. I think that's something to really talk about, that we should talk about. Our culture doesn't set us up. Most of our men, you know, we're not thinking marriage. You know, we're not even thinking, let me make sure I have income for a household. Right. You know, the average young man is thinking, I got enough money for me. I got enough money to pay this little rent, and I got me some money to pay for this car. I ain't trying to listen. That marriage piece says, responsibility, more work, and more bills. And right now, I ain't trying to do none of that. And that's the mentality that no, that's tough. But I'm telling you, talk to the. But I think, let me say this: I do find it ironic that marriage may not be high on the list, but shacking is,
Yes.
which tells me that there is some inner desire
Yeah.
to have a level of companionship. So when people like shacking out, but to me that's saying there's some hope in there. That there's something that is saying I do want to be with somebody. I just don't feel like that I may have all the tools. I may not feel like it right now, but there's some sense of awareness that I do want companionship in my life. So I don't. I think this the marriage piece may be a little scary, but I do feel like there is this desire, and oddly enough, it is coming from our younger people. So there is this revival to me for relationships, but there is the other part that the grooming needs to be for the relationship. So I do feel like that it's there. I feel like the potential is there.
Okay. I have one more question before. Ambrea, you had something you wanted to say?
It was something about what he just said. I also think too, with the way that the economy is and things right now, people are like, I can't do this by myself, and it's making people desire
Yes.
being together.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
we got to make this thing
Yes.
work together because I can't do it by
Yes.
myself.
Yes.
And I think that's what's happening over the last few years. People are like, listen, we got to come together by any means necessary because it's hard out here.
Yeah.
I want to be outside. I want to be outside.
You're gonna be homeless for real.
And I feel like God has a way of making crisis. God uses crisis to make us come together. You know what I'm saying? I think it's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, you're holding back part already, and if you already know it's not going to work.
It's true. I think these conversations should be had. I'm enjoying myself. Let me stop clowning.
Lost my train of thought. So I really did lose my train of thought. I should have wrote down a note.
So, hold on. I have the question. Okay. So, Tamara. So, this is not my show, but Tamara. So you and I are single since we on here. So why do you feel like you're not married?
It's a white man. Go there.
I'm gonna answer too. I ain't gonna put you out there by yourself. I'm gonna answer
Okay.
too.
One, I will be honest. I was actually I was at breakfast this morning with a friend after I had got up, and she literally asked me the same question.
Holy Ghost talking to you.
Exactly. One, there is, if I'm being honest, and I told her after us talking for about 2 hours, I finally said, I said that I'm scared. One, because no offense to who came before me, but I don't think that I got the example that I needed for my type of, I guess, for my personality, or just who God has created me to be.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see that level of authenticity, that level of freedom to be whole, and then come with another person who's trying to, who's willing to be married. So I'm just really scared. I am the commitment. It is something, especially because my generation is we don't know what commitment is. Left and right, you see a lot of people that they can't stay committed to a job for 6 months, or I'm serious, like a job, a car, they can't pay the car no more because
I
I
love
think
it.
we just go into, and social media has played such a big role into it. We go into this thing thinking that things should already be, like made. I'm not sure why, but it's just kind of like our mindsets now. So I am scared of marriage, but I know I do desire it. I do desire it. Being it's kind of intertwined with it, but being a nurse for a year, because I said after my 6 months I'm leaving. At my job, I said I had a plan. Like I had my backup plan, my evacuation plan to leave.
Mm-hmm.
There were at least about 5 jobs lined up that I wanted to go do because I felt like this level of one, I felt like it didn't take all this much for me to be committed to this job when I'm not getting what I want.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
how I
Yeah.
felt. That's how I felt in
Yeah.
the beginning until time actually revealed itself. And God was letting me know that the reward that I'm giving you is not tangible.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
What
Yeah.
he was
Yeah.
giving
That's
me
right.
was endurance,
Yeah.
strength. He was giving me peace. He was giving me actual joy. Like he let
Yeah.
me experience what it actually means to serve, to continue to
Yeah.
be joyful, even when things don't look my way. And how to actually turn to him in times of a crisis.
Yeah.
So, and I think all these conversations are starting to come up because maybe he wants me to,
You might have
help.
to do a work in your life, sis. Lift your hands and say yes, Lord. I'm just playing.
I'm just gonna put one finger up.
I'm just messing. I'm just messing.
Put the whole I
I'm
just
just.
and I'm so greatly appreciated that God throughout since 2021 to now there's been a whole like revamping of my life,
Mm-hmm.
and he's definitely shown me that he can redeem me, that he preserves me for certain things in certain situations, and he also didn't forget about me. He gave me people in my life to explain to me what marriage is if I didn't have the correct definition before. He gave me an example, or he'll tell me to read some type of passage in the story, or I'll see a video, and then it's little things like that that he kind of like reveals to me. So I don't lack with him. That's one
I
good thing.
got you.
I don't lack. So, but we'll see.
Gotcha. I'm going to turn it over to Saki because my answer is the same as hers.
Right.
I could be very scared of marriage, and I think it's scared slash respect, and I think some respect has to do with culture. I don't think necessarily has to do sometimes with the Bible. It's culture and positional. As a pastor, if this doesn't work out, oh, I don't want to be one of them pastors who got a divorce, and so just to that point, it is a very scary thing from my standpoint on a whole lot of levels. And so I just think this is real conversation to talk about, and stuff like that. And I love the Lord, you know what I'm saying? But we working on that little area over there.
Right.
I'm turning back on Steve.
Yes, I want to see you be a Hosea.
Praise the bishop.
Y'all been in church for 4 hours. Why pastor ain't going home? Ain't nobody there. Come here. We got another revival tonight.
I got one last question.
Oh.
Okay, just gonna let everybody go. So, do you think, and this is for everybody, that we should go back to arranged marriages?
It seems
I
like
think Sister Ambrea should answer this question because she laughed out loud first.
For your parents to pick out your mate.
What you say, Sister Ambrea?
I think about that sometimes with just having kids, and like, what if we could, like we know our children, and we know the parents of the other children, and we know what could be best for them that could work. But when we're talking about our age range, arrangements won't work. It's too much that could have gone on by the time you get to your 40s. We just know that no arrangements. But I could see that working for younger people, depending on the upbringing and stuff like that. But not for us.
I think
They
We
said
locked
no.
up. Wait, we be locked up.
back then in those times, a lot of people got married for the women had like what is called a dowry,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
where they
Dowry.
got
Mm-hmm.
that. Yeah, so they married into kind of like power, and I think that's what it was
Yeah.
about. Like back then, like they married into money, like not for the right reason. So
I'm sorry, the comments
Thank
are taking me out. It's the comments. Maybe don't matter.
respect
Laugh at these comments taking me out.
no.
Yeah, I mean, think about like how the arrangement process would work, and people will be pairing people based on so and so. Timothy
Oh, yeah.
has lived a different. He's been homeless and he's been here, and he needs somebody who's grounded and rooted. And and then you coming into that, yeah, nah.
I'll say this: being raised in church most of my life, most people try to pair me with people.
Mm-hmm.
She, but I think
Sorry, I just had a little
flashback. So,
flashback.
and what I noticed is they pair people according to giftings and not according to the person. So there are people that I could do ministry with that I couldn't live with.
Right.
Say that.
You know what I'm saying? Or there are people who I could do business with, but I would not live with them. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that's important. Or, like my dad told, I'm gonna say this to be like. So one day, this is my last story, and I set a record. So I brought a young lady home from my parents to meet. I just knew that she would probably have a problem with my mom would probably have a problem. My dad was gonna be okay because I feel like this whatever. So I brought her home and let her meet my parents. And so she just spoke to my dad and she went in there and sat with my mom and talked to my mom. I was in there with my dad. We left. We probably wasn't there about 15, 20 minutes. We left. My mom tells me the next day, your daddy said, no, that's not going to be, no. I said, well, you didn't talk to the girl. He said, mm-mm. I mean, and it's a mm-mm. So I say that I think sometimes when your parents or whoever, and not just parents, I think counsel or whoever knows you soberly, who has walked and watched you change, and it's not just based out of something that's just coming from here, but they can see and substantiate this is not good because they know who you are, they know your temperaments and different things like that. I think it provides a certain sense of counsel to bring people or whoever you're dating to that group of people who really know you in your community. And I think in the Bible days, people just knew their community. We're not community driven like that to kind of know each other like that, to put people in those kind of environments.
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been real.
I love it. This is my kind of carrying on.
We appreciate everybody for joining in. We appreciate the panel. I just want to tell everybody thank you for supporting us and coming out and listening to the conversation. And we're going to see you guys again next month. And we'll have another interesting topic. So come back and join us again when you get a chance. And you can always share the replay. Thank you guys. We'll see you later.
All right, have a good one.